Good Tuesday morning to everyone. I'm John. Welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. We're going to come to you today with just a couple of tidbits of bad news and then try to turn it to a positive side of the yin-yang today with all that's going on. There's just so much bad things to talk about. It's not funny. But speaking of funny, we do have a very, very great show going on right now inside our government halls, and it's a clown show for sure. The president's top economic advisor was asked some questions at a forum the other day about where does money come from and how is it gained. And his only answer that he could come up with was, well, we can print it. Think about that. He has no idea of what he's talking about, and the further questioning on whether or not the economic value of the dollar will maintain, he has no answers for it, nor did he have any answers about the escalating deficit that we're looking at as the United States today. Borrowing money from China, borrowing this and borrowing that, it's going to creep up and bite us in the rear end, and it already has, and it's showing in the economic downturn in this country. No matter what the White House comes out and tries to tell you about how great things are, we all know the difference. We all go shopping, we all buy groceries, and we're all putting gasoline in our non-electric cars that they'd like to do away with, not giving any thought to the fact that it's going to take coal-fired plants and oil-fired, petroleum-fired plants to make the electricity to do this, even if we did have the infrastructure to support these vehicles that they want to shove down our throats. The manufacturers have come up with the knowledge now that they're not selling. People are not accepting it, and they're stuck with inventory on their lots on a daily basis now. So that is going to go by the wayside, I'm sure. No matter who is elected, Joe can push all this that he wants. But if and when he even makes it to November, because all of the underlying scuttlebutt on several of the social platforms indicate that June 13th will be the where he steps down and they put somebody in his place, and God only knows who that particular person could be. But it won't be good for you, and it won't be good for me, I'll guarantee you that. Meantime, Donald Trump is being warned of jail time if he says another word against his gag order, which I don't understand why everyone involved in this particular case can go on social media platforms and Facebook and things of that nature and say anything they want to, but he's not allowed to defend himself or tell his side of the made-up stories that are going out on social media, because this phony judge that sits there with a political agenda, keeping him off the campaign trail and keeping him quiet, or trying to make him quiet, which is a feat that I don't think anyone could accomplish, because he is a very outspoken individual, and he has every right to be. He has a First Amendment right the same as everyone else that's out there talking about him does. But we need to have more peace in this country, and peace of mind, which they do not want to allow anymore, because when you turn on any news channel, you're going to get a face full of what someone else's agenda is, and very seldom do you get the truth on the end of that report. Anyway, California is trying to pass a law right now to limit the amount of homework given to a student. We're talking high school students now. Also, they want to do away with the SAT. They feel that it's too much pressure on these young people to have to work after they leave school. So we're already dumbed down the school systems to a point where the reading scores and the math scores are the lowest that they've ever been. And now they want to even dumb it down further by not making these children go home and do some homework. If you remember back to your school days, I'm sure you had plenty of homework. We had 2, 3, 4 hours of homework every night in high school, and your parents were able to help you with it. But now we're into a generation or 2 generations into the fact where the parents haven't been schooled properly and can't help with homework. So therein lies some of the problem that we're facing. It's a sad state of affairs when our educational system is going to depend solely on AI to get these people through. And what happens when they get into the workaday world? How would you like to get on an airplane with one of these guys as a pilot who can't do math or depends on AI to write anything down or keep his logbook straight? That's a frightening situation, because they have to have the skills to take care of people. And if they're waiting on autonomous flying airplanes and autonomous cars, they've got a good long wait for that. AI is going to do more, and more damage to the educational system when they can go out and get their papers written and everything else by a robot or an AI program that they're dialing into on a daily basis. So that's a little on the frightening side, I'd say, but that's the educational system in California for you. That's where they're trying to pass this thing to limit the amount of homework that you can give a child. Oh boy. Wouldn't it be nice? What else is happening across the world is that I guess the Israeli army has rolled into Rafah, or on the certain side of Rafah where the humanitarian aid has been hijacked by Hamas, and they're going to reopen that or keep it open. And that's a good thing to get the aid through, because the aid up till now has been going to Hamas for to support their tunnels and whatever else that they're doing, or hiding out in the UN's offices, basements over there. And I think that they've made progress into it, as I am told yesterday that there is a ceasefire agreement ready to be taken up on both sides that was engineered by Qatar and Egypt, which would be a good thing, except for the fact that Hamas will use that opportunity for a ceasefire to just rebuild their weaponry and reorganize their own forces to continue on as they see fit, because they don't go along with the peace agreements that need to be in a sit down and come to order. But yet they continue on. In the big news is Kim Kardashian wore an ultra-tight corset to the Met Gala, and this is taking over headlines in entertainment today. Really? Who cares? How did they get to be where they are in the first place? The Kardashians. And then we have these young dopes that just hang on to every word or every move that they make, and whatever TikToks that people put out about the Kardashians. This is what occupies the minds of some of the weaker individuals that we have, probably all those that are out on campuses right now waving Palestinian flags and not understanding not an iota of what really is going on in Palestine, in Israel, or any of the history involved in it, because they're not going to go do their homework after school because it's too stressful on them. The sad part of these campus uprisings that are happening now is that, number one, no one wants to put a stop to it, which is highly questionable to me. And number two is that they have now disrupted graduation exercises at Columbia, and I'm sure it will follow through to several other universities or schools through the nation, to where the people who worked for 4 years for the privilege of walking across that stage in front of their friends and family to have the accolades that they worked so hard to receive is now canceled as a result of a bunch of crying idiots that are in the street waving someone else's flag. And I'd love to know how many of these people are actual students, number one, and number two, how many of these people are here on a foreign visa for education. Because those visas should be canceled immediately, and if we had a State Department with a backbone, that would be done, and they'd be on their way back home with no college credits added to their name. It's simple as that. But again, if you look at our southern border, it is very simple to put a stop to that as well. But this government does not want to do that. This administration is hell-bent on flooding this country with people that we know nothing about, with some with really, really bad intent that will come out later on and hurt us as a country and as individuals. It already has put a strain on what little economy that we have here for the citizens of this country. I know that they want all these extra votes to go to Joe Biden or the Democratic Party, but this is not the way to accomplish it. And don't tell me that these people will not be at the voting booths in November or writing in on mail-in ballots somewhere. It's just so many different kinds of wrong that it's sickening. But yet, we put up with it because the people haven't risen up yet, but I see anger mounting on a daily basis as people are angry and people are starting to understand that we are not being represented by the people that we elected to represent us in Washington, D.C. on the levels of legislative government and the presidency, executive level of the United States. We're not getting the support back from these politicians that made promises to get elected, got in there, and found out that if they don't play ball with the other side, they may not last. And no one that gets in those positions wants to leave that gravy train. So the down ballot this November and the congressional seats that are going to be up for re-election, we need to make the move as we, the people, and tell them they work for us. And if you don't work for me as a citizen of the United States who elected you to be there, then we will take away your seat and give it to someone who will. It's as simple as that. And as far as these anti-Israel mobs that are taking over universities, and I guess they tried to disrupt the Met Gala last night, which is really interesting to me because these crying liberals that are part of this Met Gala group are the people who applauded these idiots that are trying to disrupt their big party. How does that feel? The anti-Israel mob ignores the school's demands and tears down the barriers and just reset up their encampments with no one paying attention, I guess. Where is the school administration? Where is the school board of directors of these universities that are at risk of losing funding, not only from alumni, but federal funding as well? They need to get off their duffs and do something about this mob mentality that they have created through their professorships in these organizations. We're tired of watching this nonsense. I'm tired of watching flags from another rogue nation being flown on the university campuses of the United States. That needs to come to an abrupt end. And that's my feelings on it, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way. That said, let's talk about our own peace of mind and how we need to have quiet moments every day of reflection. And if you can take a walk in the woods somewhere, that's the place to do it. We have to clear our minds and get ready for what is coming next. Taxes, more regulations, more spying on our own population, more takeovers of businesses, more layoffs and people going out of business, more businesses closing down due to the crime waves that are taking place in the larger cities across the United States, which, by the way, happen to be blue cities, run by Democrats. They, the Democrat Party, are the new elites for 2024. And if you haven't realized that yet, you need to take a long, hard look at what's going on. Not what you're told by CNBC, who is now out telling you that Biden is only 2 points away from, Donald Trump or any of the other people running. That's an out-and-out lie. I don't know what poll that they did. What did they poll? Did they go over and poll all the employees at PBS? Because that's their thinking. It's almost comical. But you can't laugh at it, even though it is a clown show and a carnival circus of a cabinet, because it is directly affecting the rest of our lives and livelihoods. These people are making mistake after mistake after mistake, and I'm talking about not just in this country, not just the border, but if you look at international dealings that are going on right now, we are on the losing end. They do not respect this cabinet or this administration. Blinken can go wherever he wants to go. It's not going to help. They make it worse. Biden's politics are wrong for this country. They have been wrong since the day he took a seat in the Senate. Nothing has changed. His racist views are just now being veiled so you don't see it in a presidential election like they did in the last election. But if you look historically, look it up. This guy stood against segregated schools. He's always been not a friend to other races other than his own. It's historical. But they like to cover these things up so you don't see what's going on behind the curtain. So we have that to look forward to every day of our lives if you turn on any of the media outlets that will tell you all about how great Joe Biden is. And then you have Democratic lawmakers out shooting their mouths off, like warning people about Trump supporters. They better be careful. Why? Because they may lose their seats? That's a good thing. It's hard to believe that we, in this day and time, are seeing the things that we see, but it's happening right before our eyes. The good news is we have the ability to be kind to one another, to be thoughtful, to do the research that we need to do. We need to have those quiet moments in the woods or just sit out on the grass in your front lawn and close your eyes, listen to the breeze, and say a prayer that we are saved in this country from the disaster that looms if we re-elect the wrong people. And I don't want to talk about politics anymore this week, but God only knows what will come out of this White House in the next 24 hours. It's always a surprise every morning. The White House has asked Biden to say less when he's out on his supposed campaigns. They don't want him to do any rallies. Well, here's the reason why they don't want him doing rallies, is because you have a handful of people show up, and then Trump does a rally that has thousands and thousands of people that don't have room to get in, that are outside in lines. And this isn't happening for Joe, and they don't want you to see this. It's a fact. Plus the fact that if he says too much, he goes off onto tangents and tells you stories about popcorn and you just name it. He comes up with some dillies. He's liable to tell you that the rest of his family were eaten by cannibals. I don't know. No one knows what's going to come out of his demented mind. And if he does ever debate, he's claiming that he's going to debate Donald Trump. They're going to have to find the same cocktail they gave him for the State of Confusion address that he gave and get him pumped up for that, because he's not capable of debating a sixth grader right now, and everyone that has a brain knows this. So I highly doubt that will happen, or they'll come up with a magic cocktail to get him through 2 hours of what I think will be pure entertainment, laughable entertainment. Well, I guess there's a lot of going on and talk on these platforms, especially Rumble, about these hearings that are scheduled for June with Fauci over this COVID thing. I guess that they're not over and done with that yet, but that's just what we need in Congress and in Senate, is to have these judiciary committees and other committees have hearing after hearing A lot of gas and wind comes out of these people, but no actions come at an end result of it. They can subpoena people like Hunter Biden, who just refused to come, and nothing takes place in a way of reprimand or anything else over this. It's a show. And I'm quite frankly tired of the show of hearing after hearing and question after question and sound bites that come out of it and then run through the news cycle for a week and a half after, and then nothing comes of it. Nothing. And if something hasn't come out about Fauci by now, why are we going to waste more time in June trying to question him about the crap job that he did and the fact that he was instrumental in bringing COVID into the world by funding gain of function at the Wuhan lab? That had nothing to do with the bats. The bats are in his belfry. But yet we're going to waste more time and more money and more time that they should be passing laws against the things that are happening in this country, starting with the border. But no, we're gonna have Anthony Fauci get another 2, 3, 4, 5 days of FaceTime on all the TV networks. I just don't understand how this government is functioning in the fashion that it does and get away with it with no one watching the store. I think we all need to start writing letters and asking for explanations on every front that they've brought up and wasted millions of dollars investigating with no end result. And these hearings on appointments of judges and heads of departments are sickening. Literally sickening. You got a few good senators in there or a few good Congress people that will ask the correct questions. They get lousy answers, and no one's feet are held to the fire over it. It's a show. It might as well be a scripted TV show. Actually, it's somewhat better than some of the sitcoms that they put out now, because imagination, it doesn't exist in producing TV shows that are worth anything anymore, or movies out of Hollywood that mean anything, that are loaded with CGI and bombing and bad behavior, so our young people can be indoctrinated by that. How about looking into that? If it weren't for comic books and remake of films that were done years ago and were good films, then they remaking these films with a woke bent to them, and they wonder why they fail at the box office. There's no imagination left in Hollywood. There's no imagination left in TV productions. Thank God we have platforms, like Prime and Netflix, and people that are starting to make, and if you look at the better ones are ended up being made in the UK. Because we have no imagination here anymore. And we need to get back to basics. It used to be when you had a TV sitcom, there was a lesson to be learned or a moral to a story. But now it's garbage. And guess what our young minds are taking in? They take in garbage, and then garbage comes out. It's like a computer. You put garbage in and you're going to get garbage back out. It's amazing how we've sunk to these levels while No one was watching the store. But we need to get back to basics. We need to get back to God. We need to get back to what this country was founded upon. And get out of wars and things of that nature that will kill people off on a daily basis. All so someone can make money at the end of the military-industrial complex or a big pharma. There's a reason these news outlets that you watch on mainstream media are loaded with pharmaceutical ads every 5 minutes. Think about that. Go ask your doctor for this. Ask your doctor for that. Tell your doctor you need. It used to be you went to a doctor when you were sick and the doctor told you what you had and here's what I'm going to prescribe. When did the pharmaceuticals become your doctor? That's another thing that needs to be brought back into control. They're worse than big tobacco right now. You remember how bad that was. And the years it took to bring them into line. We have a sick country because we have bad foods, bad drug choices, and drugs that are too easy to come by. And now we have the fentanyl scourge pouring through the southern border, and no one is stopping it. It's not going to get better until someone in charge decides to do something about it and acts accordingly. We have juvenile offenders now, more than we ever had. And these juvenile offenders end up in the streets carrying someone else's flag, talking about nonsense that's going on in a foreign country that they didn't take the time to learn about before they opened their mouth. You have them hitting old women in the street to take their pocketbook or their car. It's a shame what we've come to, and some of the people that we've led into this country that are performing some of these crimes on a almost daily have to be brought into line and deported. If you're arrested for stealing, if you're arrested for an assault and you're not a citizen of the United States and you're here on a refugee basis, you need to be deported back to the country of origin, whether they take you back or not. But we don't have a government that sees it this way. So we need to elect people that will listen to reason with a modicum of common sense and then fix the things that need fixing. And not add to those things and make it worse. It's not hard. It's like the Ukraine situation. Everything was going to be settled until Joe Biden sent Boris Johnson there to rip up the agreement. Learn that, realize that, and then look at the lives lost since then on the Ukrainian population. You have a clown actor that's made billions of dollars from this, and when it gets any closer to loss, which they're going to experience, he'll go off to, a castle somewhere that he's got the cash to buy, and he'll live in exile. A happy life on your tax dollars. And people who voted for Joe Biden deserve it, but the rest of us do not. So that's enough of that politics and everything that goes with it. We're going to go downtown Bristol today, and we're going to, Kaiser and I will walk and see what's going on. Maybe if the weather cooperates, it's looking a little nasty out there right now with thunderstorms in and around the area. If that clears out, we'll get some film done down there and get that to you. Otherwise, please keep in mind that prayer is the answer, and we need the help right now. The demons are on loose in this country, and unfortunately some of them are sitting in seats of power that is quite frightening. So we need prayer. We need to get back to basics. We need to get back to family, and we need to be prepared for the worst that can happen and pray for the best. And with that, we're going to probably let you on out of here and enjoy your Tuesday. It is Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, so maybe we can grab a couple of tacos somewhere today. And enjoy the rest of your day. And God bless you all. We love you here at the Kaiser Report. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And don't forget to like this channel or this broadcast. And until tomorrow's show, we're signing off. And Kaiser and I say have a great, great, great Tuesday. So bye-bye now.